Hey, how's it going? It's Joseph, owner and operator of the Mosquito Creek Lumber Company On30 layout. Now, last video, we started working on this bad boy, the Hobby Boss World War II era LCM3. It's a landing craft, as it's landing craft motorized, and the Navy used these during World War II to hit the beach at Normandy, etc., etc. If you want a little bit more background on it, you can search Google or watch part 1 where we talk a little bit more about this and get into building this kit. Well, on this episode, we finish building the kit. So first we'll go through just the last minute details on getting the kit finished, and then onward we go to painting. We'll prime it, paint it, weather it, and then we'll eventually get this thing mounted and installed on the layout at Mosquito Camp. And I'll show you how that's all gonna take place when we get into that part. So in the meantime, let's head back into the workshop in the train room and finish this model up and then get started painting. I started the final detail work by snipping the small detail parts from the sprues. I use a pair of nippers that I only use for cutting plastic in the kits. First, I clip them kind of far away from the part, then I'll go back and trim the excess with a very sharp hobby knife and a sanding stick to get rid of all that excess. I'm using Tamiya extra thin cement, which has a little slower evaporation rate, so it allows you to apply the cement and then get the part and put it into place before the cement starts to dry. Luckily, I didn't catapult too many parts too far away from the workbench with my tweezers. At least I was able to locate them, which a lot of times they just disappear into thin air like those socks in your dryer. Now we get started scratch building the support structure for the LCM's operator shanty, and I used sections of evergreen scale models, 1/4 inch scale 3x3 inch styrene strips for the supports, and I also used the Tamiya cement again for fusing the pieces together. The actual structure ends up being 6 foot wide by 5 foot deep and 8 foot tall, sloping towards the rear to drain any water once I put the tarp on there. I tested the height with a 1/4 inch or old scale standing figure to get that height, and it looks like it's going to fit. They stand on an operator's platform there, which adds about another foot or so to the height. The height of that is about 6.5 feet from the floor to the top of the roof. All right, well, I've got the kit all finished up and complete. I added all the final detail parts and got those all installed, and makes a pretty good kit. Pretty nice model, Hobby Boss. and lots of details and things like that. So now that those are all in place, it's time to get started in doing some painting. This is the operator's shack, or whatever you want to call it, that's in place. I'm thinking about maybe putting some corrugated steel down here on the bottom part, and then tarps over the top and rolled up tarps in the back and on the sides. Keep the operator dry during those torrential swamp day rainfall storms and stuff when they're operating. So neat kit. I glued the ramp in place. I propped it up with a couple little things, and then put the cables, got those installed, and I used ACC glue and some accelerator to glue those in place, and then I trimmed the excess off with an X-Acto blade. So with that said, we're ready to prime, paint, and weather, do some lettering on this, and I'm still trying to think of whether or not I want to do an overcoat of civilian paint and then have that rubbing off and washing away to show the military, the Navy colors and lettering bleeding through. Well, I decided to do the corrugated metal down along the bottom edge here on the operator's enclosure, because I think it'll kind of give it a little bit more character and enclose things in a little bit from the weather. So these are a scale, O scale 3 feet tall. So this is 3 feet. So we'll run that. I've got my scale measured out to 3 feet on some K&S Hobbies corrugated aluminum sheet. And this stuff is really good. It's easily dented and distressed, whether you want it to be or not. But I've got my straight edge here. I measured out my 3 scale feet, and we'll just kind of score this a couple times, and it cuts just like that. So we'll get this up on the side here, measure it out, and then glue it in place with some ACC. Got my simulated corrugated steel panels already cut, and I decided to go up to the top support piece in the front, and I have notched out for the guidance or radar or whatever little dish that is, sonar, what have you. So I was going to take some super glue and just very carefully dab it onto the plastic frame. A couple spots here and there. It's enough to hold it. And then grab a piece of the corrugated metal, and it goes on there like that, and on there like that. I'm going to hit this with a little accelerator. Pop it in place. And there we go. It is glued. It is adhered. All right, time for the front piece. Do the same thing. This is going to go up in here like this. This like that. And we'll be good to go. Not a perfect job, but heck, when you're working in the swamp, you just get whatever it takes to get it done, and you move on. And all the little nicks and scratches and things in there are going to look like hard use. So once this is painted up and it kind of matches everything, I think it's going to look really great. Well, I think that's going to wrap it up for this part of the video. We've got our kit built and the scratch built little operator's shack, and it is ready finally for primer, paint, and weathering. And I promise in part number 3 we'll get around to doing that. I've got a couple of tricks about thinning paint for airbrushing. We will airbrush this and get on with the build. So I didn't want the video to go too long as usual, because I know you have a lot of stuff going on in your life just like I do. So in the meantime, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Please ring the bell if you want notifications when the next Mosquito Creek Lumber Company video is going to hit YouTube. And subscribe if you would. I'm very, very happy. I want to just say thank you so much for everybody who's subscribed so far to the channel. Truly appreciate that. It means the world to me, and it's cool that all of the On30 brethren can support each other, even in YouTube videos. So until next time, keep on squatting those skeeters, or something like that.